Welcome to 2019 on Crawford-Clark Close-Up. We've got a packed year of film and TV reviews for you to enjoy. Everything from our ranking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to our retrospective look back over the finest performances from the late, great Robin Williams to the new section of our channel looking back over the biggest award-winning films of all time. In this first film review of 2019, we're taking a look back over one of the most consistent film trilogies of all time, fully able to stand up high with the likes of Back to the Future and The Lord of the Rings. It's the series of highly successful adaptations of Cressida Cowell's How to Train Your Dragon series of books. Following success with the Shrek franchise and Kung Fu Panda, to name two of the studio's biggest successes, the Dragon films are seriously the only real contender to Pixar's crown for photorealistic animation. How to Train Your Dragon first soared into cinemas almost a decade ago in 2010, unassuming in its promotion but blowing away audiences with its majesty both in its visuals and John Powell's stunning score, as well as through its fantastic characterization. We're introduced to Berk, a Viking village, and Jay Baruchel's perfectly self-deprecating Hiccup, learning that he needs to become a dragon fighter in order both to gain his father's respect and to prove himself to his village. The animation is outstanding, and not just in the breathtaking flying sequences that have more than a few nods to classic Disney and Aladdin and Jasmine's magic carpet ride. It's all in the detail and the nuance of these characters, and the first film is certainly a story about friendship and loyalty. When Hiccup discovers that he alone has downed an infamous Night Fury, perhaps the last of its kind, it's up to him to return the dragon's heart to his father to prove his worth. Only Hiccup ends up forming a bond with said dragon, calling him Toothless. Both of them are outsiders without the wings to truly fly, until they work together and show the village that dragons are intelligent creatures who need human protection. The voice talent utilised in the Dragon films is stellar. America Ferrara lends spunk to Hiccup's eventual love interest Astrid. Gerard Butler is more convincing than anything he's ever appeared in the flesh, as the voice of Hiccup's mighty father Stoic. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, David Tennant, Kristen Wiig, Craig Ferguson and Jonah Hill round out the wonderfully kooky characters, but it's Jay Baruchel lending the perfect voice to Hiccup that carries us through this first story in the trilogy. The thing that impresses the most with How to Train Your Dragon as a whole is John Powell's outstanding score. From the introductory This Is Berk, setting the scene for this world, to the angelic, forbidden friendship that tracks the beginnings of trust between boy and dragon, to the majestic test drive when Hiccup rides Toothless for the first time, to Astrid trusting Hiccup and Toothless in romantic flight, Powell's music has never sounded better than here, and it's one of the biggest crimes in recent memory that the Oscar-nominated score should lose to The Social Network. There's adventure, there's peril, there's humour. Everything is just about perfect in Chris Sanders and Dean DeBois' first foray into the Dragon series. If it weren't for the hugely anticipated release of Toy Story 3 back in 2010, providing frankly unbeatable competition, DreamWorks Animation would have had a deserved Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Riding on this success, 2014's How to Train Your Dragon 2 is the mother of all sequels. Regarded at the time by critics as the Empire Strikes Back of animation, Dragons 2 builds on the themes and animation techniques of the preceding film and improves in almost every aspect. John Powell returned to provide an even more epic soundtrack, and the film is deeply emotional throughout, with Hiccup gaining more responsibility for Berk and having to take on evil Drago Bloodfist, whilst also embracing the return of his mother Valka, played with great soul by Cate Blanchett. Dragon 2 is an emotionally engaging middle chapter, and the middle chapter of a trilogy is often the hardest to perfect. Audiences are aware that the story will continue past this chapter, but filmmakers have to retain audience interest. With How to Train Your Dragon 2, they succeed, and then some. The animation is dazzling, and the story is genuinely more gripping than many live-action films of the last decade. And now, coming almost a decade after the first chapter, director DeBois and his talented creative team return with what the trailers are heralding as the epic concluding part of Hiccup and Toothless' story in How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Whilst this is an often beautifully moving story, particularly in the final section of the film, this is probably the weakest of the trilogy overall. The villain, F. Murray Abraham's Grimmel, is the weakest element of an otherwise solid final chapter, just another character determined to wipe out all the dragons. The characterisation is a little off this time around as well. Having built up Cate Blanchett's Valka in the second instalment, she's almost completely sidelined this time around. But perhaps that's sensible, as this has always been about Hiccup and Toothless's blossoming friendship from the outset, and at its most effective, this is a buddy trilogy, a journey of self-discovery and acceptance. Perhaps these are deep themes for a series of animated films, but that's the beauty of the genre. Just because we have no live-action element in the series, it doesn't make this story any less beautiful. In fact, it's more so. John Powell's music soars at all the right moments, climaxing in the most stunning rearrangement of Forbidden Friendship and Test Drive from the score to the first film, for a sequence that, if you follow these characters from the very beginning, might just bring a tear to your eyes. We know that Pixar are the giants of animation, and their output over the last 2 decades has been consistently lauded, but DreamWorks should be commended for their incredible work on the Dragon series. These are the best of the studio's output to date by a mile, and we, for one, hope that they leave it at that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. From Crawford-Clark Close-Up. What are your thoughts on the How to Train Your Dragon series? Do all 3 films hold up against Pixar's output? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this review, please click subscribe at the top of the page so you don't miss out on any new content. Come and find us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can also drop us an email with suggestions for future reviews to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com. There's plenty of new content to come in 2019, so stay tuned to Crawford-Clark Close-Up. Thanks for watching, and until next time, that's a wrap.